I get to be a historian, and so I get to study about how people have thought about the world that they live in. And one of the things that we know for most of human history is that every society acknowledges the fact that we are a created people, that this world has some responsibility and is some reflection of the divine or the transcendent. What makes Christians a little different in also acknowledging that we're created and that we owe something, some obligations to the divine, to the transcendent, is that we believe that God actually became human flesh. And this is a really radical statement. And for us, it's the gospel. It's the good news that we have, that God did not just stay a creator God controlling the forces of nature outside of this world, but he enfleshed himself. He became particular. He became human. And when he did that, he entered into the pain and suffering of the world that we live in. Now, this isn't an exciting thing in many ways, but it's a deeply comforting thing for those of us that understand the world is broken. And sometimes looking at a God that is outside of that seems alienating. And what does he have to do with us? But Jesus was God enfleshed. And more than that, Jesus' life was leading towards and culminated in many ways, the cross, which is, for Christians, the embodiment of suffering, this sinful world that killed its creator. So the suffering that we endure in our lives is something that we can know our Creator God also participated with and understood, and that he loved us so much. He loved us in the flesh, that he became human and walked with us as we have to walk in the families and communities that we're part of. And then that death, paradoxically, again, we don't understand sometimes how this works, but for those of us who have been in suffering and have had someone come alongside us and be with us in presence and also share their own suffering with us, we understand that something beautiful can happen as a result of that. And what we believe as Christians, what we say the good news is that because of Jesus' death and suffering, we have the possibility of forgiveness. Not only the forgiveness of God, who forgave us already from the very beginning. He'd always forgiven us. But we understand it. We can now also access the forgiveness that we should have for other people. We can have peace and love and reconciliation. So that death on the cross leads us into the world made new, the kingdom made new, where we will live in love with God and with each other.